Hey guys, it's Steven here, back with another video. I'm back with another episode of 5 Things Learned. Not quite as fun as the last 5 Things Learned when we battered Liverpool 4-0, but it's a necessary evil that we're going to have to pore over and go through this game against Southampton and see what went wrong really and what we learned from that 1-0 defeat. Don't forget as well, there's other videos on this already. I've made a match reaction video last night, and there's also a City Social with Alex and Walter, formerly of Bloomy Rise. You can go watch as well if you want a long-form discussion about the game. But today we're going to run through 5 things that I took from this. And I'm going to start initially with that familiar feeling and sense of deja vu. That really kind of struck home last night. That was Manchester City's, I think it was our 9th defeat in the league, which is absolutely terrible for a club of our stature and our ability. Let me just double check that. I want to make sure I'm actually right. I'm pretty certain I'm right. Yes, 9th defeat in the league, which is just so bad compared to Liverpool's 2. It's the same amount as Sheffield United down in 8th. We need to be better than that. And hopefully we will be better than that, but that's the kind of stat we can't ignore. Now, the thing that made it feel like deja vu is, but once again, it came from a defensive error. It came from a defensive error and then an inability to convert the chances. And usually when you get that many mistakes, and it feels, and when it's that repetitive and the things that feel like they're issues and they come up to the fore constantly, you can really kind of sense that, well, this is not an issue, a one-off issue. Basically, the feeling of deja vu explains our season in a nutshell. Even Guardiola hinted that after the game, where we have familiar problems in both boxes and all that kind of stuff. And I think we'd learned from this that Manchester City's problems aren't going to go away unless we address them. Because we can't pretend that next season they just won't be there. We are going to need some corrections in our squad, so to speak. We are going to need to address these things on the training field, which I no doubt they are actually doing. But we are going to need to look at the squad and go, well, where can we be more solid defensively? Where can we be more clinical in front of goal? And how can we address that? And it is frustrating to watch, but I guess if anything, the more games we have like this, when during games that don't matter, like the league games at the moment don't matter, then the more it will draw into focus the issues that we've got. So that familiar feeling of deja vu explains an awful lot, and if anything, just kind of furthers our stance for next season. Secondly, we'll get on to Bernardo. Now, I love Bernardo Silva. I genuinely do, so do not get this wrong. I want nothing more than Bernardo Silva to be absolutely excellent. But Bernardo isn't himself, and even though he's not been terrible, he hasn't been terrible. He's just not been great, which is disappointing because when you think of Bernardo Silva, you think of this effervescent, exuberant, incredibly intelligent, incredibly gifted, all-round midfielder. At the moment, we've got a guy who's gone from probably being world-class last season, genuinely one of the best 15 players in world football, to someone who probably doesn't even make the top 100 list at the moment. His form has been really, really average by his own personal standards. What I miss from Bernardo is that energy, that drive, that exuberance, that lust and joie de vivre of football. In general, we haven't got that kind of excitement from him anyway. He's gone from a player that looks like he's loving his football to one who looks a little bit solemn, if I'm being honest. His demeanour doesn't feel the same on the pitch, and we all laughed at the Garda one thing because it was funny. But that was a miserable looking guy, you know. He's even talked quite a lot earlier in the season about how maybe we kind of gave up too quickly. And I wondered if he's actually enjoying his football that much at the moment. Now, I'm not saying that's a Manchester City problem, but what I'm saying is that Bernardo isn't himself at the moment, and I think that's obvious. Now, what are the reasons for this? I don't know. Honestly, none of us actually know. We could speculate and guess. He came off the back of UEFA Nations League last year, obviously when he played for it at Summer, and he was outstanding in that tournament as well, and he won it with Portugal, and he was like the player of the tournament, I think. I'm pretty certain he was. He was absolutely excellent. And then he came back, understandably a little bit tired. He didn't have great form, and obviously the Mendy tweet shambles kicked in where he was accused of being racist, but I don't think he is at all. I think it was just cultural differences, essentially. I think Bernardo's a very nice man, but I think that kind of got to him for a bit. But so much has happened since then that eventually you're like, well, you can't be tired because we literally had 3 months of football, and he spent that 3 months, and I saw the Instagram photos, he spent that 3 months kind of travelling around the world with friends. He spent a lot of time recuperating, basically, and we've been through a pandemic, so you think, surely the world has changed. It's been almost a year since those tweets, and the world has changed. We've all moved on. No one's really asked about those tweets anymore. Has it just left a deep kind of mental impact on him, or maybe it's just one of those things where he can't quite live up to his own expectations from last year? What is causing these problems? Either way, we have to get to the bottom of it, because Bernardo Silva should be one of the first names on our team sheet, given how good he was last year. And as it is at the moment, it's got to a point where if he starts now, I'm like, yeah, all right, you know. And Bernardo, I want more than that from Bernardo because he is that good potentially, and we shouldn't have to accept just 6, 7 out of 10s. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but we are got to a point now where Bernardo's form is a mild concern for me personally. It could be that next season will be back to normal, but hopefully it's not a long-term issue. And thirdly, I guess this is expected, really. Expected for the reasons that we're talking about, really. That sense of deja vu, we've expected this results, and also expected because I guess Manchester City's side right now is kind of in limbo. Like, now, I was chatting to Walter and Alex on the City Social episode, which will be a link on screen now somewhere. If not, it'll be at the end cards at the end of this video, so you can go watch that. And Walter made a really good point, saying it must be weird to essentially play when you could probably lose all the games from now and the end of the season, not lose all of them, but most of them, and you still finish second, or you could win them all and you still finish second. Essentially, we've got absolutely nothing to play for. So this kind of indifference in form, there is to be expected to a certain extent. I do think we have to expect that when we make this certain changes as well. When we change the team that dramatically from the Liverpool game, you have to expect a drop-off in quality performance. And when you look at the changes that we made, Cancelo came in, Zinchenko came in, Fernandinho played in midfield, which was a change, Bernardo, then we saw no Foden, no De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva was back in. It was a vastly different team to the one that played at Liverpool. And we're doing that a lot at the moment, post-lockdown. I understand why Guardiola's doing it, but I think we're going to have to expect and react naturally to performances like this. They're going to be kind of bitty. They're going to be like fragmented performances because the squad at the moment is fragmented in the way we're using it. And also, I guess, because mentally, it must be really tiring to play like they did against Liverpool and then all of a sudden have that many changes. I think it was quite a tiring game mentally. So it is what it is, unfortunately. And I guess we were missing some of our best players at the moment as well. So we have to understand that, I guess, in terms of perspective, that these things are going to happen. And so we play games of a bigger nature that means something to us that I think we'll be more up for. Liverpool was a motivating factor because it was Liverpool. Chelsea, I guess we weren't that bothered by, but I'm sure when it comes to the cup games, we'll be a lot more motivated, hopefully. Fourthly, I want to give some Cancelo some credit where it's due. Joao Cancelo was really good last night. I think he was one of the few positives from the game. Obviously not, he wasn't exceptional or anything like that, but he was good. And in uninspiring performance, someone of his quality, performance of that quality does stand out. I saw some bits with Cancelo that I wanted to see for some time where he was kind of feinting and dribbling past his opposition marker. One particular moment where he done with his shot and then kind of cut through and played it over to Mahrez was really nice, and a couple of really good crosses. Cancelo on that kind of form obviously offers a lot more than Walker does going forward. Now, I really, really like Kyle Walker, but attacking wise, that isn't really his forte. He's a great defensive, a good solid all-rounder. But Cancelo showed times last night of how good he can be in terms of creating Manchester City's chances and getting forward and linking with the attack. And I want to see more of that in general from Cancelo, because I want to see the player that he could be. I want to see what he brings to this team that's different to Kyle Walker. I think Cancelo really needs to be exponentially different to Kyle Walker to essentially get a chance. He has to show that he's not just Kyle Walker with a slightly better cross. He has to show that he's a totally miles better attacker than Kyle Walker, to show something really different, because I think that's a chance, the way he'll form his own identity in this squad, basically. But I thought he was good last night, and credit where it's due. Finally, width issues. I know obviously Cancelo played well last night, but I think largely in the scope we do have width issues. I honestly believe this is to be a problem. I felt for some time last night now that and I have ignored the striker problem here, but it's an obvious one, so there's no point talking about it. I felt for some time now that we do have issues out wide in terms of stretching the pitch. That sometimes, if Mendy's not there, for example, Zinchenko, as good as a little lad he is and a nice guy and decent player, he's not going to provide us any real width. And then we've got Sterling cutting in quite a lot. He doesn't provide width. He's good at wide. Mahrez cuts in an awful lot. And then usually when Mahrez plays as well, we've got Walker, who doesn't really tend to be that great overlapping. So we do have issues with width. But I think of Manchester City's recently at the best. I think of like Sane and Sterling out wide. I think of that width and that pace. And I do feel like out wide generally, we're not at our strongest at the moment. A lot of people were saying Gabriel Jesus could become a winger. And if that's the case, if he becomes a winger, then what do we do about our forwards? Because then we've got just Aguero really as a recognised forward, and he's going into next season as a 32-year-old with injury problems. We need to be sensible and realistic about our expectations. I do think Manchester City should be in for some wide players or something. It might be that we're in for a left-back, and if it is a left-back, I hope it's an attacking left-back who's can get forward, can bomb forward, can put in crosses, can offer some alternatives. And I also want to see us go for a winger. I want a pacey winger. Now, we've been linked to Leon Bailey. I'm underwhelmed by that personally. I think he's very I think he's okay. I think he's just an okay footballer, not a great footballer, but he might be cheap. But I do want to see some actual wingers come into this side. Some people with a bit of panache, some people with a bit of pace and a bit of flair, because I think we need that in this team. Anyway, guys, that's just 5 things that I personally took from the game. Go watch the City Social and the match reaction video. It'll be next to me right now. Subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. Let me know what you took from the game, what you learned from all that kind of stuff. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the comments down in the comments below, because that is the beauty of this channel. Everyone's got their own opinions and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I love you all loads, and I'll see you later on for another video in a bit.